contribution with a desire, a burning desire. You see, contribution is the releasing of an energy on purpose. What is your contribution towards the world? What is your contribution to yourself? What is the contribution to your family, to your friends, to society, to the district, to the region, city? You're always contributing something, but the average individual is not aware of what they're contributing. Contribution is the releasing of consciousness. Now, nobody ever taught us as young boys or girls that we will contribute to the world. So it's vitally important to understand how we direct our force, our energy. When we start understanding contribution is the releasing of consciousness. And by releasing that consciousness in a direction, you're centering yourself to live a life around conditions and circumstances according to that decision. Majority of people are not thinking about contributing much. If you are being guided and directed, what is your contribution to the world? Now you've got to think about a global contribution. But if you're only thinking about contributing to yourself, what can I have? What can I be? Your range is shortened. And if your range is shortened, you can only impact that of which you desire to impact. The majority of people don't desire to impact much. What causes one individual to desire to impact at a global level and someone to impact at a solely environmental level, their closest environment? Well, that's greatly distinguished by desire. And when we start looking at what distinguishes desire, we're starting to find a self-image is backing that desire. If your self-image is being controlled by what you think is possible, you won't make the right decision. And when I say that, you're going to say, well, who decides what's the right decision? Well, your higher self, not the lower. And this is where we get into higher consciousness, lower consciousness. There's a higher side of your personality and there's a lower side of your personality. The lower side of your personality is always looking at conditions, circumstances, the people around them, to let those ideas control their behavior. Higher consciousness is still you, but more aware of what's possible, more aware of their uniqueness, their oneness with creation. Now, when I'm going through this process of illustrations of consciousness, you're starting to think, well, where am I at? Look at your conditions, your circumstances. Look at your results. Look at your contribution. Look at your desires. Look at your impact. This tells you exactly where you are with your level of awareness. You know, there's so much for you to do in this lifetime, but are you doing all that you can? We can no longer question nor deny that which surrounds us. You cannot question nor deny that which surrounds you. And your strongest desires. I remember the surrounding that I had at different times of my life. And the less I wanted to contribute to the world, the less range of experiences, less range of people, less range of growth that I was having. Where are you today in your growth? Where are you today in your experiences? Where are you today in your impacts? And here we go again. We had to come back. You got to go inside. Every time I'm asking you to look at your environment, the environment is telling you exactly how you've centered your consciousness. How you think. What you determine to be real. What you determine to be possible. And what you're more inclined to do. What you've been more inclined to do. But the truth is that you're infinitely possible. You have infinite potential. You can have and achieve anything you want. The question is, what do you want? What do you really, really want? How do you want to live from this day forward? The past doesn't matter anymore. The past is dead. The past is gone. Let the dead bury the dead. What do you want from here forward? The only thing the past is good for is to see what you no longer want to experience and to change where you're going, what you're doing. Here we come into suggestion. What do I really want? Here we come into suggestion. Careful analysis on yourself. When we begin to look at the suggestions from within, you're going to a higher source again. You're not going to the lower source, although the majority of the time we do. Less awareness, less connection with that higher personality, that oneness, that uniqueness with creation. Less of that, less desire. And it's all perspectives of consciousness. What you think you can do. What you think is possible. What you think is meant for you. What you think you're capable of doing. The human mind is a marvelous piece of machinery. One of its outstanding characteristics is noticed in the fact that all impressions which reach it, either through outside suggestions or autosuggestion, are recorded together in groups which harmonize in nature. The negative impressions are stored away, all in one portion of the brain, while the positive impressions are stored in another position, another portion of the brain. When one of these impressions or past experiences is called into the conscious mind through the principle of memory, through the principle of seeing, interacting, communicating, the tendency is to recall with it all other similar nature, just as the raising of one link of a chain brings up the other links with it. For example, anything that causes a feeling of doubt or worry to arise in a person's mind is sufficient to call forth all of his experiences which cause him to become doubtful. If a man is asked by a stranger, could you accomplish this? Could you accomplish that? Could you have this or that? If I were to ask you, could you increase your income, double, triple, quadruple, 6 times, 10 times your income? We're going to start picking up a chain link fence. Why? Because you go back to the analysis of prior experiences. You don't go to somebody else's results. Maybe you check those to see if you want to go in that direction. Maybe you check those to see if you think it's possible for you. But at the end of it, you always go back to yourself. This month we're talking about enthusiasm, auto-control, and then you. Because you're the only one that could direct yourself past all these pervading thoughts. You see, there's a mental mechanism inside of you that has already been conditioned to fire and wire in the same neuroplasticity. There is a mental attitude inside of you that's already firing and wiring all together. And every time we're thinking about going beyond, creating new destinies, creating new reality, you pick up all of the ideas that you have inside of you, and they come up just like a chain link fence. Every one of those ideas is hooked up one to the other, and it all goes back to the nucleus of you. This is why autosuggestion and the repetition of autosuggestion is so important, because you've been autosuggesting yourself into the plan that you're in today. A certain train of thought, a certain way of being. A lot of people say, well, I'm doing this till, or this is temporary. Then they'll find themselves there 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down the line in the same direction. Not because they couldn't do more, they didn't understand the way the mind works. Struggle is to be expected at all times in life when you're going beyond what you don't know and when you're staying where you know. Struggle is to be expected when you don't continue to unlearn or relearn. And struggle is to be expected when you're going beyond what you know. That might throw you through a loop, but it's the truth. So everywhere you will find a struggle for what's coming next. But can you imagine living a life struggling, never being able to step out and going beyond what you know? Can you imagine a life struggling, not enjoying what you're doing, tired of doing what you're doing, and yet you keep doing it and doing that for the rest of your life? That's a struggle that people around the world are experiencing all the time, and they don't know how to break free. But I guarantee you, if you persist, you can break free. These programs that we teach are designed to do that. We have a transcendental meditation that we do to teach people how to step into that subconsciousness and that unconsciousness and be able to reprogram the programming, help them defuse the things that's holding them back. I've had people tell me, I keep attracting the same model over and over. I keep attracting the same business or the same people around me. I keep attracting the same relationships. You're supposed to. That's not an accident. That's literally a program. We're supposed to stay in alignment with the programs, the impacts, the positive impacts, the negative impacts in our consciousness, our whole life, until we change them. Nobody's going to save you. Nobody's going to change you. You've got one life, one shot as far as you know it. Everything that I've been talking about from the beginning of the opening of this session was causing you to think. And every time I switch to another topic and I switch to another area, I am touching different aspects of your consciousness, and it's causing you to center. Every time I hit a different part of the human personality in you today, It's causing you to go back to the centering of consciousness that makes you you. It defines you. This area is what needs to be programmed. This area is what's holding people back. This area is what you unfold from as consciousness, as you know, as yourself. You are a booklet. You are a book of groups of messages, groups of ideas, and you just consistently draw upon that area to think. And if you don't reprogram your consciousness, you continue to draw upon that message, those messages, those ideas, that precognition, and you continue to unfold a continual reality more or less the same. A little bit different, more or less the same. Switching people, switching plots, switching circumstances, and you still wind up more or less in the same place over and over and over again. And this will not change unless, if or until you're willing to learn who you are. Challenge yourself to go beyond who you are. Learn to unlearn and relearn. This is what we do. We're teaching people how to learn and unlearn. We do a transcendental meditation, helping people drop into their unconsciousness, their subconscious, and begin to literally take the impacts out of the images and the emotions that they have in life and begin to pull them out of yourself so that they no longer control your behavior. So it's no longer a connecting link within your consciousness. Otherwise, every link connects to another. But when we separate that consciousness, those emotional impacts, you begin to be able to untangle the consciousness that you've been in. How could you ever break out of a prison you don't even know you're in? People that have been in trauma, people that have been in war and having psychological trauma. We can literally show you how to untangle that, so you can continue to live, go beyond your home, operate in society, not be triggered. Because again, all that thought stimuli, all those impacts are in the subconscious. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you've been. What matters is, who do you want to become and where are you going? We can take you step by step. We can show you how to get there. We've been studying the mind for years. I've been studying the mind for many years. I've worked with different people about consciousness and mindset. I work with them, and they've worked with consciousness and the mind for years, learning about the human personality. We have books of investigations, of knowledge, of years of mental work. But you will never understand this until you're willing to put it into action. It doesn't matter how many books you've read in the past. If you cannot take the action, it's because you've been just solely downloading this information for the memory of it, not how to apply it. There's a big difference for the memory of it and then teaching your body to act and behave as it would have never have behaved. There's a big difference. And knowing and doing, knowing how to apply the information. Because again, if you don't know how to apply it, it doesn't matter how many audio books you go through, how many books you read. That's surface thought. You don't know a thing until you apply it. The truth is, you'd probably have to go back and read every book. Because if you took something out of it, it's chances that you even ever applied it. Because your mind and body is programmed to do what it knows and what's in your subconscious mind. That has been programmed, not that book. Because if you could do what that book said, you'd be experiencing a completely different reality. But that's proof that you get this information at a subsurface level, and if you don't know how to apply that into the subconscious to make it permanent or eliminate the prior impacts, the prior programming, you're going to have difficulty the rest of your life. And we see this everywhere we go. I've worked with doctors, with doctorates, psychology, sciences, neurosciences, biology. I work with education, people in education, with doctorates and masters. And they didn't understand this as well. Information at a distance. You don't know this. You don't know this until you can explain it. You don't know this until you can put the thoughts in an action. You don't know this until you can group new ideas and cause your body to act and behave as it would have never have behaved. And the truth is, when I look at someone's results, when I look at their results of their state of being, what I'm looking at is the grouping of their ideas and how far they've been able to re-educate their mind and body to act and behave as it would have never have behaved. So we get information at two levels, really more than that. One, for the memory of it, and the extreme other side of it would be doing it, expressing it in behavior. And in order to go from knowing it to doing it, are worlds apart. We could add another level in here if we wanted to dive deeper into it. You can think about it, then you can talk about it. After you talk about it, you've got to be able to express it in nature, in your naturalistic state of being, with a goal, on purpose, directing your body to act and behave as it would never have behaved. You're literally re-educating your mind and body. And this is called the transmutation of thought energy. So many people are stuck in between these areas, and there's a lot of psychology and there's a lot of breaking down of reprogramming in this area. Reconditioning of the neuroplasticity, the firing and wiring within neural pathways that a person has to go through in order to change their reality. And if you're not prepared or you do not understand, the chances are you're going to struggle and you will conform. And the chances are you're already there. And if you're not there, before long you will be. It is rare that I find somebody that is continually reprogramming their consciousness. At some point, they give up. And they conform. They'll try different things, and eventually they settle in with what they know. Progress with progress comes power. But it's got to be highly organized power to a definite end. I cannot change you, but I can show you how to change. Goals, goal settings, are part of the process. Because you got to know where you're going, and you got to be willing to set a goal beyond what you know. And again, the goal is not to achieve the goal. The purpose of a goal is to change you. The goal was not to get to the end. It's who you're becoming along that path of setting that goal, who you're unbecoming, what you're untangling, what ideas, what messages are you letting go, what beliefs are you changing about yourself. That's the reason for goals. Your uniqueness is great, but do you know what it is? Your uniqueness is in the making, but do you really want to make it? One life, and it's all dependent on how you see yourself. One shot, and it's all dependent on what you're willing to do, commit to. And if you continue to change yourself in this path of personal development, and that's what life is, personal development. Majority of people stop personally developing themselves. They just do what they know. But in this life path of personal development, I like to call it contribution. In this path of contribution, what are you willing to contribute? How are you willing to contribute? How much of yourself are you willing to unfold? Play this video.
Here's 3 great questions.
Are you able to play that through, Autumn?
Ask yourself these questions. How does self-image impact my life? Here's 3 great questions.
It was on the screen up here. You ready? There we go. One life, it's all dependent on how we see ourselves. And your feed's not going through. Still not going through. How do you see yourself? How does self-image impact my life? How is a self-image formed? How is a self-image changed? Are you going to be able to play it? No, it's going to be something on your end. Well, let's do it this way.
You got it. And if you don't like it, you better change it. Your self-image was built going back. Who did build it? Doesn't much matter who. The next one, self-image. How do you see you? Can you see you doing the thing you really want to do? Do you really build the picture in your mind? You know, let me go back to something here. No. Here's 3 great questions. Ask yourself these questions. How does self-image impact my life? The next one, how is a self-image formed? And here's the tricky one. How is a self-image changed? You see, your self-image is part of the paradigm. Your self-image is your idea of how you see you, and it's built into your paradigm. And you didn't even build it. Who did build it? Doesn't much matter who built it. You got it. And if you don't like it, you better change it. Your self-image was built going back generations, and it's flowed down genetically and then environmentally. Now, most people truly are extras in their own movie. Who's the director of your life? You want to ask yourself that. See, if your paradigm is the director of your life, who made the paradigm? Do they really know what they're doing? Do they know what you want? Do they know what's important to you? Odds are pretty good they don't. This is where we've got to take control. We've been given the ability to do it, but we don't do it. Do you know there's only about 5 people out of 100 that do? Most haven't got what it is to do it. Look it. You got to figure out what do you want. You got to figure it out, and then you got to say, I am going to be the director of my life. I'm going to direct it from now on. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm starting to understand the rules of this whole trip that we're on. I'm going to make some decisions that really make a difference. In fact, I'm going to learn how to make a decision. Now, I love this quote by Buckminster Fuller. I use it just about everywhere I can think of. He said, you never change things by fighting existing reality. Well, don't battle with who you are. What the hell? People are always trying to change who they are. Never change things by fighting existing reality. To change things, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. That's exactly what I've done in my life.
So here we go. We're talking about something that's unseen. And that unseen is the unseen part of your personality. But if you don't change it, you don't rewrite it, you don't reconstruct it, you continue to unfold out of your consciousness. We're talking about something unseen. And we're talking about the director of your own reality. Most people are extras in their own movie. How does the self-image impact my life? How is self-image formed? How is self-image changed? You came into all these ideas, and you begin to use those to think. And then if you don't know how to go into that unseen part of your personality, how could you go anywhere else? Every time you think, you keep coming out of that same consciousness. How could you change? It's like an invisible cord, and somebody keeps winding it up. And as they wind it up, they pull that string, you keep talking. That's the way consciousness works. You get up in the morning, you're off to the same place. You get up and you start thinking, you pull the cord again. How could you grasp something or change something that's unseen?
Down genetically and then environmentally. Now, most people truly are extras in their own movie. Who's the director of your life? You want to ask yourself that. See, if your paradigm is the director of your life, who made the paradigm? Do they really know what they're doing? Do they know what you want? Do they know what's important to you? Odds are pretty good they don't. This is where we've got to take control. We've been given the ability to do it, but we don't do it. Do you know there's only about 5 people out of 100 that do? Most haven't got what it is to do it. Look it. You got to figure out what do you want. You got to figure it out, and then you got to say, I am going to be the director of my life. I'm going to direct it from now on. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make it happen. I'm starting to understand the rules of this whole trip that we're on. I'm going to make some decisions that really make a difference. In fact, I'm going to learn how to make a decision. Now, I love this quote by Buckminster Fuller. I use it just about everywhere I can think of. He said, "You never change things by fighting existing reality." Well, don't battle with who you are. What the hell? People are always trying to change who they are. Never change things by fighting existing reality. To change things, you build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. That's exactly what I've done in my life. I've done that. I see myself as a very successful business person who teaches people about themselves, that operates all over the world, earns millions of dollars a year, and I live it the way I want to live it. Some people say, well, that's not always right. It's always right. When you're doing what you want to do, that's always right. You want to make sure that you're following the laws. You want to make sure that you're putting good out, okay? Now look it. This has got to be done fast, and then it's got to be followed up effectively. When John Kennedy was talking to Dr. Wernher von Braun, there's two giants of men. President Kennedy, and then the man that was the mastermind of the space program, Dr. Wernher von Braun. And he asked him, he said, what would it take to build a rocket that'll carry a person to the moon and bring him back safely to Earth? Now that's a hell of a big question. And he said, what would it take? Von Braun answered him in 5 words, the will to do it. What would it take for you to do whatever you wanted? The will to do it. When I see someone that I think has it, that's the desire inside to be something a lot more than they are. I love helping those people. I really do. And I've watched changes take place that are mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling, following these ideas. Now this chapter, this changes everything. Think of what Kennedy asked him. What would it take to build a rocket that would send a person to the moon and time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second? Like that, he answered him, the will to do it. Of course, that's all it takes to do anything. Now think of this. Let's use this time, okay? I got lots of things here to play with, okay? If you could put this on the screen, Scott. Let's say this represents your mind. This is not on the screen, Scott. Can you put it on the screen? Thank you. Now look it. You build a picture, as we say, you're thinking, and you think and you build a magnificent picture here, and it's on the screen of your mind, okay? And now this is a big win, a big win. Why does a person have a difficult time deciding to do that? Well, I think we know that. They have this huge paradigm here, and the paradigm won't permit them to do that. See, the paradigm is in control.
All right. So we look at this picture. We went back to the mind, and the mind is an energy. It's a movement. We don't understand the movement. We don't understand how it moves. This image brings a lot of order. Conscious mind, subconscious mind, then we have the body. Then we have big ideas, all outside of us all the time, big ideas, but you are never able to transform them into form. You're not able to get yourself to go and do them, are you? Now, why? Because that big idea is something outside of you, and it's something you've never done. You've never been conditioned. You don't know how to do it. You have fears, doubts, worries. You don't go beyond yourself. Why? Because in the subconscious, you got paradigms, programming. You already have a habit. You're habitual by nature. What are you going to do today? Some of you may be watching this. You may click off because you don't have the habit of watching it for very long. And if you do look through it, how long will you look through it? Everything's habit. You want to go back to what you know. You want to go back to what you know. And the mind works exactly like that. The minute you're off track, it wants to take you back on track. And it wants to take you back on track. Your mind will want to gear you onto your own train of thought. If you start to look for material books and you're wanting to learn, And you'll find yourself putting the book down and you go back to what you know. Why? Because the mind is a train of thoughts, and its main target and practice is to go right back to what it knows. You're going to get off this call and your mind wants to take you right back on track to what you know. You may get it, say, I'm going to change, I'm going to do this, and I'm going, and then here it goes. The subconscious job is to put you right on track with what you know. This is why we're always looking for better ways of how to take people beyond what they know. We've got scientists working with us. We've got doctors working with us of learning a better way of doing things. Everything we put in place is to help you change yourself. If you find yourself that you just cannot control the way you think, we've got process set up to take you beyond those blockages. Are you going to have to commit? Yes, you are. Am I asking you to commit to changing yourself? You're damn straight I am. Because you, the old you, could only keep thinking of doing things the same way you know how to do them. And if you don't change, nothing's going to change. We're at our time. Thank you, guys.